Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a recording of me coding a splash page for one of my clients. If you're learning how to code it, it'll be useful for you to get familiar with certain processes and techniques that I use to create the page. Hopefully you can apply what I'm doing to your projects, and if you have any questions, definitely drop a comment below and I'll get back to you. So make sure you subscribe to see my upcoming code, music, and design videos. Hope you enjoy. So the first thing that I did is open up the design that was provided for me by Baz's team in Photoshop. It's a really dope design. So usually the way it works is that they provide me with the design and then I kind of just take what they have, put it in Photoshop, and then convert it to whatever way I kind of see fit for the web. Yeah, so here I'm just exporting the different images that I'll need and just breaking apart the design. So get that out there. Sometimes my trim doesn't work all the way. I'm not sure. Cool, so we're just gonna save that. Grab that text, export that. And like I said, just kind of roll through each one, through each image and export it so that way I can include it in the website. So now we're gonna start a visual code. I actually highly recommend that you use it if you haven't switched. I know a couple of my friends were still using Sublime, but I was pretty impressed by VS Code. So now I'm just writing out the HTML that we'll need. Oh, changing my song. Alright, so now we're just writing the HTML and I'm setting up the files that will be needed to really get the design going. So doing like some basic CSS that I pretty much do for every project. Setting up the style sheets. And I generally try to write a ton of HTML first before I really do too much CSS. So I want to structure everything kind of like mentally, I guess. Like set up the structure with HTML and then we'll apply the styles later, but you just want to make sure that the actual DOM looks good first. That 40 VH is for the viewport height. So instead of like making the height 100%, you can set it to the viewport height, or 40%. Instead of making it 40%, you can set it to 40% of the viewport height. And I like that more because it's a little bit more explicit in terms of what I mean, in case anybody else has to work on this. Changing songs. So now I'm starting to include those images that I exported from the Photoshop file. Getting a little server going. Once I fix those errors. And that's just a HTTP server. It's an NPM package that you can install. If you just run npm install http-server, it'll install onto your computer in case you want to use it. Just run that in the terminal. So one thing I wanted to try with this website was not to use like any sort of anything that was unnecessary. So I didn't want to use Bootstrap because the layout isn't that crazy. So I didn't use it, and I didn't really use any of the libraries either. So you'll see like a lot of like calcs, the CSS property calc, to calculate a lot of the widths and stuff, because I'm doing a lot to set up a sort of like a pseudo grid system so that I could reuse as much code as possible. So you can see like I have the inline class, and that's so I just don't have to keep applying a display inline block to everything. It's too big, so we have to resize it. Here comes that calc again. So one thing about calc is if you add a padding to a block element and you're trying to calculate that width dynamically, you'll have to include the padding amount. So you see, I kind of have to play with it a bit, but for example, if you have like a calc and you're initially just trying to subtract like 20 pixels, if you add a padding for another 20 pixels, then you have to do calc 100% minus like 40 or 45 to account for that padding. You can't just leave it. J-Rock's album is dope, by the way. Kinda slept on, but it's a dope album. So I'm just working my way down the PSD and dropping in the graphics as I go. So we got the Dreamville and Interscope logos and stuff at the bottom. So this is me creating another class to kind of save me some time. The align middle. So this inline and then align middle. Now half. And you can see that's just another calc on the way in. And that's the padding thing that I was talking about. There's padding 15 pixels on both sides, so you have to subtract like 30 or 35. Sometimes you have to bump it up to account for like the quote-unquote natural margins that some block elements have. So now I'm building like how the tickets are going to be set up. I didn't have all the links at the time that I was programming this, so it's just mostly just dummy data. A ton of little tinkering. You know. eyeing a lot of this because it's made for like a print, or it's made more so like not the original design wasn't really made for the web. So I'm kind of like eyeballing a lot of the spacing and stuff like that. So now I'm trying to include the font from the original design, but I usually use Font Scroll to convert whatever font is in the graphic, but this one was blocked, so I couldn't do that. So I had to use Google Fonts and just tried to find one that was pretty similar. So I'm just gonna try out a couple. Yeah, this seems close enough, so I just dropped that in. Just swap it out and then keep going. Change your music, J Prince. That's the guy. So here's more just kind of like eyeballing based on the design. The letters are kind of spaced out in uppercase, so that's what I did. And the hover state wasn't provided for the links, so I just kind of grabbed another color from the design that I thought would look alright. So we got that yellow from that swirl, that looks cool. And you'll notice as I code, I like pretty much keep the inspector open the whole time. So I'll change stuff and tinker with the CSS and then just copy back into my local CSS file and go back and forth like that. And you think I would have that script memorized already, but I'll always just copy paste it from my website. So now I'm trying to make it fit mobile. So that's pretty much just, once again, just opening the inspector and making changes, and then copying and pasting it back into my local CSS file. So you want some elements stacked. So within that media query, the at media max width or whatever, that makes it so that only certain CSS applies to certain screen sizes. So anything below like 768 pixels, this CSS will get applied to it. So certain elements that were display inline block before, they'll just be display block for now. But then some margins will be different, some padding will be different. Just small changes to make it more usable on mobile. More and more tinkering, tinker. See that trial and error. Try it in the inspector, and if it works, then keep it local. So now we're kind of getting closer to what we want it to look like. You can kind of see some padding issues pushing it over the x-axis of the viewport. So Now I'm just trying to figure out what is causing that. Updating the margins. So at this point, we're pretty much done. It was kind of bothering me that the dates weren't centered, but once we have different locations, then it should be less noticeable. I'm trying to go for readability in terms of I want the dates to be aligned rather than just having everything be centered, because once we have like Los Angeles and New York and everything, it'll kind of be hard to read. So it's easier if you're a fan looking for the dates to just search for your date. It's easier to search the dates if they're all lined up on the left, is what I'm saying. So at this point, I'm just doing some like cross-browser testing. I normally develop in Firefox, but so now I'm testing in Chrome and just resizing the window and trying different device sizes for mobile and tablet, making changes based on those. Like here, I'm breaking it up, so there's like tablet fixes and then there's like a mobile fix section. Forgot to take PX. So at this point, I'm pretty much wrapping up. I'm just using the drop downs to really check the different sizes, but this is pretty much it. Just really making some fine tuning changes. Yeah, so this is pretty much it. At this point, I'm going to send it over to the person that's kind of in charge to make sure the website is right, like the right stakeholder. And once they sign off, and if I make any more changes, then we'll probably launch. I think we're launching tomorrow. So that's pretty much it.